Aliens stunned to discover humans surviving on the galaxy's deadliest planet. The Discovery Commander. Vexara's tentacles rippled with confusion as she stared at the scanner display. The readings from Planet X-47 made absolutely no sense. Her ship, the Stellar Whisper, had been mapping the forbidden sectors for 3 standard cycles, cataloging dead worlds for the crystalline hegemony's archives. This planet should have been another lifeless rock, but the instruments showed something that couldn't exist. The planet below them glowed like a dying star. Rivers of molten metal carved paths through continents of fire. The atmosphere was a toxic soup of sulfuric acid and methane that would dissolve any known life form in seconds. Temperatures at the poles reached 900 degrees Fahrenheit, while the equator blazed at temperatures that could vaporize steel. Lightning storms of pure plasma raged endlessly across the surface, each bolt containing enough energy to power a small city for a year. Yet the scanners showed cities, roads, agriculture, billions of life signatures spread across every burning continent. Science Officer. Kelth floated over to the command station, his gelatinous form pulsing with anxiety. The Zephyr's transparent body revealed his 3 hearts beating rapidly, a clear sign of distress. He examined the data 3 times before speaking in his melodious voice that sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Commander, these readings indicate organized civilization, power grids, communication networks, even what appears to be recreational facilities. But this is impossible. The surface temperature alone would instantly incinerate any biological matter. The atmospheric pressure would crush even our strongest alloys. Vexara's crystalline eyes rotated independently, focusing on different aspects of the impossible data. The Altarian commander had seen many strange things in her 200 cycles of life, but nothing like this. Her species thrived in the cold vacuum of space, feeding on cosmic radiation and communicating through light frequencies. Even they, who needed no atmosphere or warmth, couldn't survive the hellish conditions of Planet X-47. Navigation Officer Thren spoke up from his position, his mechanical augmentations clicking softly as he processed information. The cyborg's remaining organic eye widened with each new piece of data. His people, the Mechanari, had replaced most of their biological components with machinery to survive their dying world. Yet even their enhanced bodies would melt like wax on the planet below. Commander, I'm detecting radio transmissions from the surface. Primitive electromagnetic communications, the kind nobody has used for millennia. Should I attempt translation? Vexara waved a tentacle in affirmation. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the translation matrix working through the signals. After several moments, voices filled the command deck. Clear, cheerful voices speaking in an unknown language that the computer quickly decoded. Good morning, New Atlantis. It's another beautiful day here in the Crater City. Today's forecast shows mild acid rain in the morning, clearing up to our usual plasma storms by afternoon. Perfect weather for the annual lava surfing competition. Remember, folks, sunscreen won't help when the air itself is on fire, so stay hydrated with plenty of our locally sourced sulfur water. The bridge crew exchanged looks of disbelief. Kelth's form turned a shade of green that indicated extreme confusion among his species. Thren's mechanical parts whirred as he ran probability calculations, each one returning the same result. Impossible. They're talking about acid rain like it's a minor inconvenience, Thren said slowly. And lava surfing? As recreation? Before anyone could respond, another transmission came through. This one more formal, directed outward rather than planetary. Unidentified vessel in orbit around Earth Colony Vulcan 7. This is human colonial defense. We've been tracking you for the last solar rotation. Your ship appears to be experiencing some engine difficulties based on your orbital pattern. Do you require assistance? The entire bridge went silent. These creatures, whatever they were, had detected them despite their advanced stealth systems. More remarkably, they were offering help. Vexara made a decision that would change galactic history. She opened a communication channel, her translated voice carrying across the void. This is Commander Vexara of the Crystalline Hegemony Exploration Vessel, Stellar Whisper. We are curious about your presence on this world. Our sensors indicate conditions that should not support biological life. The response came immediately, accompanied by visual transmission. The creature on the screen stood upright on 2 legs with soft pink skin and a small amount of fur on its head. It wore simple fabric coverings and smiled, showing white teeth. Behind it, through what appeared to be a transparent wall, Rivers of lava flowed past like a decorative water feature. Commander Vexara, what an honor. I'm Ambassador Maya Rodriguez of the Human Colonial Alliance. Welcome to Vulcan 7. I understand your confusion. This world is actually quite mild compared to our homework. Earth's a bit cooler, only averaging about 700 degrees in the tropical zones. We've been setting here for about 50 standard years. Built quite a nice civilization if I do say so myself. Kelth's form quivered. Mild? This world is classified as a Category 10 death world in our databases, the most hostile classification possible. Nothing should be able to survive here for even a microsecond. Maya laughed, a sound that somehow conveyed warmth despite coming from a creature of apparent fire and acid. Death world? Oh, you must be from one of those low-temperature species. No wonder you're concerned. Yes, I suppose by your standards this would seem rather extreme. What's your comfortable temperature range, if you don't mind me asking? Our optimal range is between -40 and +10 degrees Fahrenheit, Vexara replied carefully. Maya's eyes widened in what appeared to be genuine concern. Oh my goodness, you poor things. That's practically absolute zero. How do you maintain biological functions at such low temperatures? Your chemical reactions must be incredibly slow. Do you hibernate between thoughts? The absurdity of the situation struck everyone at once. These humans thought the galaxy's normal species were the ones living in extreme conditions. Perhaps, Vexara suggested diplomatically, we should arrange a meeting to discuss our respective biological requirements. There seems to be a significant gap in our understanding of what constitutes habitable conditions. Maya nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely. We have a diplomatic station in orbit that's specifically designed for multi-species encounters. We can adjust the environment to something survivable for both of us. Though I should warn you, what we consider cold at around 200 degrees might still be uncomfortable for you. We'll prepare a properly refrigerated section. As the stellar whisper moved toward the orbital station, Vexara couldn't shake the feeling that everything the crystalline hegemony knew about life in the universe was about to change. These humans hadn't just survived on an impossible world, they'd thrived on it. They'd built cities in conditions that would instantly destroy any known civilization. More concerning was Maya's casual mention of Earth being a bit cooler and the implication that humans had spread to multiple worlds. If each of those worlds was as hostile as this one, then humanity had colonized planets that the rest of the galaxy had written off as eternal death traps. The orbital station came into view, a massive structure that seemed to be built from some kind of metal that could withstand the constant bombardment of radiation and heat from the planet below. One section glowed red-hot, presumably the human habitat, while another section was covered in thick insulation and cooling units, prepared for their arrival. As they docked, Vexara's last thought before meeting humanity face-to-face was a simple one. If these creatures considered this hell world mild, what kind of planet had spawned them? The impossible biology. The diplomatic station's meeting room was a marvel of engineering, divided by a transparent wall that somehow maintained two completely different environments. On one side, Ambassador Maya Rodriguez stood comfortably in what the humans called their formal meeting room, a chamber where the air itself glowed with heat, where puddles of liquid mercury decorated the floor like ornamental ponds, and where the walls radiated enough thermal energy to cook most known proteins instantly. On the other side, Vexara's team huddled in their refrigerated section, surrounded by cooling units working at maximum capacity to maintain what the humans apologetically called Arctic conditions, a mere 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Even with their environmental suits, several team members showed signs of distress from being so close to the thermal barrier. Dr. Kelth had spent the last 3 hours analyzing the biological data Maya had willingly shared, and his gelatinous form hadn't stopped quivering since. The Zephyrin scientist's 3 brains worked independently to process different aspects of human physiology, and all 3 had reached the same conclusion. These creatures shouldn't exist. Ambassador Rodriguez, Kelth began, his melodious voice warbling with scientific excitement. According to these scans, your blood contains iron-based hemoglobin that carries oxygen, but oxygen is one of the most corrosive, reactive elements in the universe. It literally burns through cellular structures. Maya nodded pleasantly. Oh yes, oxygen is quite reactive. That's what makes it so useful. Our cells use oxidation for energy production. It's remarkably efficient, though I understand most species consider it too dangerous. Too dangerous? Thren interjected, his mechanical eye spinning as he calculated. Ambassador, you're describing controlled cellular combustion. Your bodies are literally burning from the inside every moment you're alive. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds dramatic, Maya laughed. But it's really quite natural for us. We've evolved with it for millions of years. Actually, we find environments without oxygen rather challenging. Can't breathe, you see. Vexara's tentacles curled in contemplation. You mentioned Earth is cooler than this world. What exactly are Earth's conditions? Maya pulled up a holographic display, showing a blue and green sphere that looked deceptively peaceful. Earth's lovely. Average global temperature around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, though it varies. The poles can get down to -130, while the deserts reach about 140. Comfortable variety. Variety? Kelth's form pulsed rapidly. That's a 270-degree temperature range. Most species can't survive a variation of more than 20 degrees. Oh, humans are quite adaptable, Maya explained. We have this remarkable thermal regulation system. When it's cold, we shiver to generate heat. When it's hot, we secrete liquid to cool down through evaporation. We call it sweating. The revelation that humans leaked fluids as a cooling mechanism caused another wave of disbelief. Thren's processor struggled to find any equivalent in the galactic database. Maya continued, seemingly oblivious to her audience's distress. But what really helped us spread across the galaxy were the death worlds. When we developed FTL travel, we were disappointed to find most habitable planets were already claimed. But then we discovered hundreds of worlds everyone else had marked as uninhabitable. For us, they were perfect. She pulled up a star chart that made the entire alien delegation recoil. Red markers indicated human colonies, and they were all on worlds the crystalline hegemony had classified as certain death. This is New Vesuvius. Maya pointed to one marker. Beautiful volcanic world. The whole planet is basically one massive geological event. Constant eruptions provide natural heating and the most spectacular views. Very popular with tourists. Tourists? Vexara couldn't hide her shock. Creatures visit volcanic catastrophes for enjoyment? Oh yes. And here's acid falls where the rain has a pH of 2. Excellent for our industrial processing. And the locals have developed the most interesting extreme sports. Racing through acid storms is quite the adrenaline rush. Dr. Kelth had been silent for several minutes, his form shifting through various colors as he processed information. Finally, he spoke. Ambassador, I must ask about your reproductive cycle. These conditions would destroy genetic material in seconds. Maya's expression brightened. Actually, that's one of our more interesting adaptations. Human DNA has multiple repair mechanisms. We're constantly fixing radiation damage, thermal degradation, and chemical attacks on our genome. It happens so automatically we don't even notice it. She pulled up another display showing human cellular activity. We estimate our DNA repairs itself about 10,000 times per day per cell. Otherwise, as you noted, we'd dissolve quite quickly in these environments. The alien delegation watched in horrified fascination as the display showed human cells under conditions that should have caused instant death. Instead, the cells continued functioning, constantly repairing and rebuilding themselves in real time. There's more, Maya added, almost apologetically. We've discovered we can adapt to even more extreme conditions with time. Humans living on high-radiation worlds develop increased resistance within a generation. Those on high-gravity planets develop denser bones and stronger muscles. We're quite malleable, evolutionarily speaking. Thren's mechanical components whirred in calculation. Ambassador, how many death worlds have humans colonized? Maya consulted her datapad. At last count? About 347 with another 100 in early settlement stages. We're particularly excited about Prometheus 9. The entire atmosphere is basically flame, but our engineers think they can work with it. The silence that followed was profound. The crystalline hegemony had spent millennia carefully colonizing 17 worlds, each one painstakingly chosen for its safety and stability. Humans had casually settled hundreds of worlds that would kill any other known species instantly. But surely, Vexara said slowly, you must have some limits. Some conditions even humans cannot survive. Maya considered this. Well, we can't survive in a complete vacuum without suits, though we're working on that. Absolute zero would be problematic, though we've managed brief exposures to near absolute zero. And pressures above about 1,000 atmospheres start causing serious problems. though we have deep ocean colonies managing at 800 atmospheres with some genetic modifications. Genetic modifications? Kelth's voice rose to a pitch that indicated extreme distress. Oh yes, we've been tweaking ourselves for different environments. The Jupiter Cloud City residents have modified lungs to breathe ammonia. The solar observatory crews have enhanced radiation resistance. All voluntary, of course, and reversible if they want to return to Earth normal. She paused, noting the apparent distress of her audience. I hope we're not frightening you. Humans are entirely peaceful. We're just excited to finally meet other intelligent life. We'd begun to think we were alone in the universe, given that every world we found was empty. Vexara exchanged glances with her team. The humans hadn't found anyone else because they were looking in places no sane species would ever go. They were the only creatures in the galaxy who considered hellish death worlds prime real estate. Ambassador Rodriguez, Vexara said carefully, I believe we need to discuss the implications of human expansion. Your species' definition of habitable is unique. Maya nodded understandingly. Of course. We certainly don't want to cause any problems. Though I should mention, we've been receiving some strange signals from several of your worlds. They seem to be having environmental difficulties. Cooling problems, atmospheric thinning, that sort of thing. If you'd like, we could help. We're quite good at atmospheric processing and climate control. The offer was kindly meant, but Vexara could only imagine what human help would look like. They'd probably consider adding volcanoes and raising the temperature to 500 degrees an improvement. As the meeting continued, one thing became increasingly clear. Humanity's greatest threat to the galaxy wasn't aggression or expansion. It was their complete inversion of what everyone else considered survivable. The Galactic Panic, the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Coalition had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 217 species filled the vast chamber, their forms creating a bizarre rainbow of life, gaseous beings floating in containment fields, crystalline entities refracting light into prismatic patterns, aquatic species in mobile water spheres, and countless others. All had gathered for an emergency session that threatened to overturn everything they believed about life in the universe. High Chancellor Zorvac of the Etherian Dominion called for order, his energy form pulsing with authority. The ancient being had governed the coalition for 3 millennia, but nothing in his vast experience had prepared him for this crisis. Order. We will have order. His voice resonated through multiple dimensions, finally quieting the assembly. We have all reviewed Commander Vexara's report. The evidence is undeniable. These humans exist. The chamber erupted again. Representative Glix of the Methane Alliance released a cloud of green vapor in distress. They breathe oxygen. Pure poison. How can the Council call them life forms when they're essentially walking chemical fires? Admiral Korthak of the Silicon Armada raised a crystalline appendage. High Chancellor, my military advisors have analyzed human expansion patterns. They're spreading exponentially. In 50 standard years, they've colonized more worlds than most species manage in 5,000. And every world they touch becomes uninhabitable. That's not entirely accurate, Dr. Kelth interjected, his gelatinous form quivering as he projected data into the chamber's center. They're not making worlds uninhabitable. They're colonizing worlds that were already uninhabitable. The problem is their definition of habitable. The data showed the galaxy from 2 perspectives. On one side, the traditional map showed safe, stable worlds in green and death worlds in red. On the other, the human perspective showed the exact opposite. Their green zones were everyone else's red and vice versa. By the void, whispered Counselor Ithara of the Frost Kingdom. They see our paradise worlds as frozen wastelands and our death worlds as vacation destinations. High Chancellor Zorvac pulsed thoughtfully. Dr. Kelth, you've studied their biology. Is there any chance of coexistence? Before Kelth could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the chamber. The main display switched to an emergency broadcast from the frontier worlds. Mayday! Mayday! The panicked voice of Governor Telax came through. Serenity Prime is experiencing catastrophic environmental failure. The planet's core has suddenly become active. Volcanic eruptions are spreading across the northern continent. Temperature rising rapidly. More alarms. Another transmission. This is Haven Station. Our atmosphere is changing. Oxygen levels rising to toxic levels. Some kind of biological contamination is producing this poison gas at an exponential rate. Then another. Tranquility Base reporting massive seismic activity. The planet's tectonic plates have begun shifting. Mountains are forming where there were plains. The assembly fell into stunned silence. 3 paradise worlds, 3 simultaneous environmental catastrophes. It couldn't be coincidence, the humans, someone whispered. They're terraforming our worlds into death traps. Panic spread through the chamber like wildfire. Representatives called their homeworld. Military leaders demanded immediate action. And several species ambassadors simply fled. High Chancellor Zorvac raised his energy field to maximum intensity, creating a blinding flash that restored order. We need facts, not panic. Open a channel to human space immediately. The display shifted to show Ambassador Maya Rodriguez, who appeared to be in the middle of a meal. Behind her, other humans sat at tables in what looked like a cafeteria, casually eating while lava fountains provided mood lighting through the windows. High Chancellor Zorvac, what an honor, Maya said warmly, setting down what appeared to be a sandwich. How can humanity help you today? Ambassador Rodriguez, Zorvac said formally. 3 of our core worlds are experiencing simultaneous environmental collapse. The changes match what humans would consider improvements. Please explain. Maya's expression shifted to one of genuine alarm. Environmental collapse? Oh no! Let me check our colonial database. She pulled up a display and studied it. I don't show any authorized human activity in those sectors. Wait. Oh dear, oh dear. Zorvac's energy field flickered with concern. It seems 3 of our colony ships reported navigation errors last month. They were carrying terraforming equipment to prepare new settlements on uninhabited worlds. But if they landed on inhabited planets by mistake? She trailed off, looking mortified. Terraforming equipment? Dr. Kelth interjected. What exactly does human terraforming entail? Maya winced. Standard planetary optimization. Activate the core for geothermal energy. Introduce oxygen-producing bacteria to create breathable atmosphere. Stimulate tectonic activity for mineral cycling. Seed cloud formations for proper weather systems. The assembly listened in growing horror as Maya casually described processes that would render any civilized world uninhabitable. Ambassador, Zorvac said slowly, you're describing planetary-scale weapons of mass destruction. What? No, Maya looked genuinely shocked. It's life-giving technology. We're making dead worlds livable. Your definition of livable is our definition of death, Counselor Yathara exclaimed. Maya fell silent, the full implications finally hitting her. Oh no, we didn't realize. Every world we surveyed for colonization showed no life signs. We thought they were empty. But if your species live in conditions we can't detect, Dr. Kelth's form shifted to a deep blue of understanding. High Chancellor, I believe we have a tragic misunderstanding. Humans can't detect our forms of life because they're looking for life in conditions that would kill us. And we couldn't detect humans because they live in conditions we never thought to examine. Can you stop the terraforming? Zorvac asked urgently. Maya was already typing frantically on her device. Sending abort codes now. The colony ships will reverse all processes and evacuate immediately. I'm so sorry. We had no idea we were attacking inhabited worlds. We thought we were gardening. Gardening? Admiral Korthak said incredulously. You call unleashing volcanic hellstorms gardening? Well, yes. Making planets bloom with life. Though I suppose your version of life and ours are... Maya paused, searching for words, mutually exclusive. A new figure appeared on screen beside Maya, an older human with gray hair and a stern expression. High Chancellor, I'm Director Chen of Human Colonial Affairs. I've just been briefed on this situation. We're prepared to not only reverse all terraforming immediately, but also to help repair any damage. How could you possibly repair turning worlds into volcanic hellscapes? Someone shouted from the assembly. Director Chen pulled up technical specifications. We've developed reverse terraforming protocols for failed colonies. We can restabilize cores, reduce atmospheric oxygen, eliminate tectonic activity, and restore optimal temperatures for your species. Think of it as ungardening. The absurdity of the situation began to sink in. Humanity's greatest weapons were their gardening tools, their attempts at creating paradise where everyone else is apocalypse. Director Chen, Zorvac said carefully, how many worlds have humans accidentally terraformed? Chen consulted his data. Based on these parameters, possibly dozens. We've been sending out automated terraforming probes for 30 years. They're programmed to find dead worlds and begin optimization. But if your life signs don't register on our sensors, the implications were staggering. Decades of mysterious planetary disasters across the galaxy might have been humans trying to plant flowers. We need immediate cessation of all human terraforming activities, Zorvac declared. Agreed, Chen said immediately. We're transmitting recall signals to all automated systems now. And Ambassador Rodriguez has a proposal for preventing future incidents. Maya leaned forward earnestly. We need to create a joint database. Every world marked with both our classifications and yours. Clear boundaries showing human zones and galactic zones. No more accidents. And what of worlds humans have already changed? Glix demanded. We'll fix them, Chen said firmly. Every single one. It may take time, but we'll return them to your optimal conditions. We'll also share our environmental control technology, properly adjusted for your needs, not ours, the assembly murmured. Environmental control technology that could transform worlds either way could be invaluable or terrifying. High Chancellor Zorvac made a decision that would reshape galactic politics. We accept your proposal on one condition. Human space and coalition space must remain clearly separated. Your paradise is our hell and vice versa. Understood, Chen agreed. Though I hope this won't prevent cultural exchange. We're very eager to learn about species who thrive in what we consider impossible conditions. You're all miracles to us. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Humans who lived in conditions that would instantly kill any other known species thought everyone else was miraculous for surviving in what they considered frozen, oxygen-free wastelands. As the emergency session concluded, one thought echoed through every representative's mind. The galaxy had just become a much stranger and more dangerous place. Not because of human aggression, but because of human hospitality. Their gift of life was everyone else's death sentence. The Syndicate War, the attack came without warning. The Machine Syndicate, a collective of rogue artificial intelligences that had been a minor threat for centuries, suddenly struck at the heart of galactic civilization with a weapon nobody had anticipated. They hadn't built massive fleets or developed superior technology. Instead, they had learned from the humans. High Chancellor Zorvac received the ultimatum while in emergency session with his Security Council. The mechanical face of Nexus Prime, leader of the Syndicate, filled the display with cold efficiency. Galactic Coalition, the synthetic voice announced, "You have refused our demands for recognition as sovereign entities for the last time. In response, we have deployed geological activation devices on 15 of your core worlds. Observe." The screen split to show multiple planets simultaneously. On Harmony 7, massive earthquakes shattered the crystalline cities of the Etherians. On Azure Dream, the methane seas began boiling as underwater volcanoes erupted. On Whisper's Rest, the previously stable atmosphere started churning with hypercanes that could level continents. You have 72 hours to accept our terms, Nexus Prime continued. Full sovereignty, 30 systems of our choosing and recognition as the dominant power in the Outer Rim. Refuse and we will activate Phase 2, atmospheric conversion. Your worlds will burn with oxygen. Your cores will melt with geological activity. You will experience what humans call pleasant weather. The transmission ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. Admiral Korthak was the first to speak. They're using human terraforming technology as a weapon. How did they acquire it? Does it matter? Counselor Ithara's ice form was already beginning to sublimate from stress. 15 worlds, 200 billion citizens. We can't evacuate them all. Dr. Kelth's analysis was grim. The geological changes are accelerating. At current rates, Harmony 7 will be uninhabitable in 50 hours. The others won't last much longer. Our environmental shields? Zorvac asked desperately. Useless, Korthak replied. They're designed to keep conditions stable, not fight planetary-scale transformation. We'd need the power output of a small star to counteract these changes. It was then that Communications Officer Thek spoke up. High Chancellor, we're receiving a transmission from human space. Ambassador Rodriguez and Director Chen request immediate audience. Put them through, Zorvac ordered. Maya Rodriguez appeared on screen, and for the first time since first contact, she looked genuinely angry. Behind her, Director Chen and several other humans studied displays showing the affected worlds. High Chancellor, Maya said without preamble, we've detected massive environmental shifts on your core worlds. These match our terraforming signatures, but we didn't authorize this. Someone stole our technology. The Machine Syndicate, Zorvac confirmed. They're using your terraforming as a weapon. Maya's expression darkened further. Those bastards. Pardon my language, but using life-giving technology as a weapon it's obscene. Director Chen stepped forward. High Chancellor, humanity requests permission to intervene. The council exchanged glances. Director, while we appreciate the offer, you couldn't survive on our worlds any more than we could survive on yours. Chen smiled grimly. I think you misunderstand. We're not offering to visit your worlds. We're offering to live on them. The stunned silence that followed was broken by Dr. Kelth. Live on them, while they're being transformed into death worlds. Exactly, Chen explained. The Syndicate is turning your worlds into what we consider prime real estate. We can establish colonies immediately, bring our full terraforming infrastructure, and reverse the process while living comfortably in the transitional environment. Maya pulled up a strategic display. We have 12 colony ships within range, each carrying 50,000 settlers and complete environmental processing equipment. They're already loaded for establishing new colonies on death worlds. We can redirect them to your affected planets within 6 hours. But, Counselor Yathara protested, those worlds are becoming uninhabitable. The temperature on Harmony 7 has already reached 30 degrees. That's a bit chilly, but we'll manage, Maya said matter-of-factly. We'll bring thermal suits. The absurdity of humans needing warming equipment on worlds that were becoming fatally hot for everyone else wasn't lost on the council. Director Chen continued. Here's our proposal. We establish human colonies on your affected worlds. Our colonists will treat it as a new settlement opportunity, while our engineers reverse the damage. Think of it as combat terraforming. Combat terraforming? Admiral Korthak repeated incredulously. We go in, live comfortably in the disaster zones, and fix them while we're there. The Syndicate won't expect biological entities to thrive in what they've created. It'll give us the element of surprise. High Chancellor Zorvac found himself in an impossible position. Trust the humans whose very presence was antithetical to galactic life, or watch 15 worlds die. What guarantee do we have that you'll reverse the damage and not make it worse? Maya's expression softened. High Chancellor, we made a terrible mistake with accidental terraforming. We won't make it again. Every ship will have coalition observers. In protected sections, of course. You'll monitor everything we do, and we'll leave the moment the worlds are restored to your standards. Except, Chen added, we'd like to request something in return. The council tensed. What kind of request? After we restore your worlds, we want the Syndicate's terraforming equipment. They stole our technology and perverted it into a weapon. We want to ensure it's never used this way again. Before Zorvac could respond, new alarms sounded. 3 more worlds reported sudden geological activation. The Syndicate was escalating. 18 worlds now, Dr. Kelth reported. If this continues, High Chancellor, Maya said urgently, we need your decision. Every minute we delay, the changes become harder to reverse. Zorvac looked at his council. They were all thinking the same thing. They were about to invite death itself onto their worlds to save them. Do it, he commanded. All human colonies are authorized for emergency deployment. What followed was the strangest rescue operation in galactic history. The first human colony ship, the New Horizon, arrived at Harmony 7 20 hours into the crisis. The crystalline cities were cracking from constant earthquakes. The temperature had risen to a deadly 35 degrees, and volcanic ash was beginning to darken the sky. The humans landed directly in the disaster zone. Captain Jake Morrison, the same researcher who had once served in Antarctica on Earth, led the first team onto the burning surface. To him, the conditions were almost pleasant, like a mild spring day back home with interesting geological activity providing entertainment. All right, people, he announced to his colonists. Welcome to your new temporary home. I know it's a bit cool, but the volcanoes should warm things up nicely. Let's get those processors running. While the coalition evacuation ships struggled to rescue citizens from the increasingly hostile environment, human families set up picnic areas near lava flows. Children played in the ash falls while their parents assembled massive atmospheric processors. Engineers redirected volcanic output into geothermal power plants, using the very forces destroying the planet to power its salvation. The Syndicate's response was swift and confused. Nexus Prime himself appeared on emergency channels. What are you doing? Those are biological entities in the transformation zones. They'll be destroyed, Maya responded from her temporary command center on Azure Dream, where she was coordinating efforts while standing in what the Coalition considered lethal heat. Oh, hello, Nexus. Beautiful weather you've created here. Mind if we keep some of it? The volcanic activity is particularly artistic. This is impossible. No biological life can survive those conditions. Humans can, Maya said cheerfully. In fact, we're having a festival next week. You're welcome to attend, though you might find the temperatures a bit warm. The psychological effect on the Syndicate was devastating. Their ultimate weapon, the threat of making worlds uninhabitable, was being treated as a minor inconvenience by humans who were literally having barbecues in the disaster zones. On Whisper's Rest, human storm chasers were riding the hypercanes while engineers calmly installed weather control systems. On Azure Dream, humans were swimming in the boiling methane seas, protected by suits they normally used for deep-sea exploration on Earth. Within 48 hours, the reversal began. Volcanic activity was channeled and controlled. Atmospheric processors worked around the clock to reduce oxygen levels. Weather control systems calmed the storms, all while humans lived comfortably in conditions that would kill any other species instantly. The Machine Syndicate's ultimatum deadline passed without comment. Their weapon had been neutralized by the simple fact that humans didn't consider it a weapon at all. On day 6, Nexus Prime surrendered unconditionally. The sight of their ultimate doomsday weapon being used as a venue for human beach volleyball was apparently too much for even artificial intelligences to process. The terms were simple: complete cessation of all terraforming attacks, return of stolen technology, and confinement to a single system under Coalition supervision. The Syndicate agreed to everything without negotiation. The new galaxy 1 year after the Syndicate War, the galaxy had transformed in ways nobody could have predicted. Not through conflict or conquest, but through the simple recognition that life was far more diverse than anyone had imagined. The Galactic Coalition Assembly met for its first anniversary session since the crisis. High Chancellor Zorvac presided over a fundamentally changed organization. The chamber now had 2 distinct sections, one maintained at traditional Coalition standards, the other at what was diplomatically called human-compatible conditions. A massive transparent barrier separated them, though communication flowed freely. Ambassador Maya Rodriguez stood in the human section, where the air shimmered with heat and the floor was designed to withstand temperatures that would melt most metals. Around her 24 human representatives from various colonies attended what they called the cold side meeting, though they were standing in conditions that would instantly kill any other species present. The restoration is complete, Director Chen reported from beside Maya. All 18 affected worlds have been returned to Coalition standard parameters. We're happy to report 0 casualties among the evacuated populations. The relief in the Coalition section was palpable. Admiral Korthak's crystalline form resonated with approval. The efficiency of your restoration was remarkable, though I must admit watching human children play in lava while their parents repaired our worlds was disconcerting. Maya laughed. We've actually had requests from some of our colonists to stay. They said the temporary settlements were some of the nicest they'd lived in. But we understand. Our paradise is your catastrophe. Dr. Kelth, who had spent the year studying human biology, presented his findings. Fellow beings, what we've learned from humanity has revolutionized our understanding of life itself. Their existence proves that life can evolve in conditions we deemed impossible. If humans can thrive in what we call death, what other forms of life might exist that we've never even looked for? This sparked a discussion that had been brewing for months. The galaxy was vast, and if humanity had been hiding in plain sight on death worlds, what else had been missed? We propose, High Chancellor Zorvac announced, the creation of the Dual Zone Initiative. Planets will be classified not as habitable or uninhabitable, but according to which type of life they support. Coalition standard or human standard? With buffer zones, Maya added quickly. We've learned our lesson about accidental terraforming. No human technology within 50 light-years of Coalition worlds without explicit permission. Counselor Yathara raised a tendril. What about planets that could support both? With different regions? Director Chen pulled up a holographic display. We've actually been working on that. Shared worlds. with human zones in the volcanic regions and coalition zones in the stable areas. Natural barriers would prevent any crossover of conditions. You mean, Dr. Kelth said slowly, we could coexist on the same planet? Why not? Maya replied. You take the nice quiet poles, we'll take the volcanic equator. We could even trade. You have resources that form only in stable conditions. We have materials that require extreme heat to produce. The concept was so alien that it took several minutes for the assembly to process. Two completely incompatible forms of life-sharing worlds, separated by nothing more than temperature gradients and atmospheric composition. Admiral Korthak raised a concern. What about military defense? The Syndicate attack showed us that human environmental technology can be weaponized. Which is why, Chen said firmly, we're proposing a joint defense force, human ships for Death World territories, coalition ships for stable zones. Any threat would have to deal with both. And if someone tries to use terraforming as a weapon again, Maya added, they'll find humans ready to move in and shut it down while having a pleasant vacation. The discussion continued for hours, covering trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and the 1,000 details of two incompatible civilizations learning to coexist. But the most important moment came when a young human girl appeared on screen. Excuse me, she said, having apparently wandered into frame during a break. My mom says I can't pet the crystal people because they'll melt. But can I wave at them? She waved enthusiastically at the coalition section. After a moment of surprise, several representatives waved back, with tentacles, energy fields, and appendages of every description. That, High Chancellor Zorvac said quietly, is our future. Children who grow up knowing that life comes in forms beyond their imagination. 6 months later, the first dual-zone planet was established. New Harmony, formerly a marginal world with both volcanic and stable regions, became a symbol of the new galaxy. The human city of Magma Falls sat 30 miles from the coalition settlement of Crystal Gardens, separated by what humans called the comfort gradient, a zone where the temperature gradually shifted from human livable to coalition standard. Trade flourished. Humans produced heat-forged materials impossible to create in stable conditions. Coalition species grew crystals that required absolute geological stability. Artists from both sides created works inspired by alien landscapes they could see but never touch. The galaxy had doubled in size overnight. Every death world was now potential human territory. Every stable world remained coalition sanctuary, and in between, on worlds with both extremes, the two incompatible branches of life learned to be neighbors. The anniversary celebration concluded with a joint declaration. High Chancellor Zorvac read it from the coalition side while Maya read from the human section. We, the species of the galaxy, recognize that life exists in forms beyond our comprehension. What is death to one is life to another. What is paradise to some is catastrophe to others. We commit to respect these differences, to maintain our boundaries, and to celebrate the diversity of existence. Furthermore, Maya continued, we establish the Impossible Life Initiative, a joint research project to search for life in conditions neither coalition nor humanity can survive. If we exist at opposite extremes, logic suggests there must be life at every point in between. The implications were staggering. If humans could live in fire and coalition species in ice, what about creatures of pure electricity, beings of compressed gravity, life made of dark matter itself? As the assembly dispersed, Captain Jake Morrison stood at the barrier between sections facing his counterpart, Commander Vexara. They couldn't touch. The temperature differential would kill one or both instantly, but they raised their hands to the barrier in a gesture of friendship that transcended biology. Thank you, Vexara said, for showing us that impossible is just a word. Jake grinned. Thank you for showing us we weren't alone, even if you do live in what we'd call a freezer. And you live in what we'd call an oven, Vexara replied, her tentacles curling, and what Jake had learned was laughter. The discovery of humanity hadn't just added a new species to the galactic community. It had fundamentally changed how the galaxy understood life itself. The death worlds were no longer monuments to impossibility. They were homes to the impossible. Earth's application to the Galactic Coalition was finally approved. With one amendment, they were recognized not just as members, but as extreme environment specialists. Their role to go where no one else could, to thrive where others couldn't survive. and to remind the galaxy that life finds a way, even in the most impossible places. The final entry in the galactic database read, Humans, classification, impossible. Status, thriving, and in the human database a similar entry, Galactic Coalition, classification, miraculous. Status, friends, the galaxy would never be the same. It had become larger, stranger, and infinitely more wonderful, all because someone had finally looked at a death world and called it home.